Okay. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. Um, that's right. That's right. It is morning, afternoon, and evening. Yeah, so today we are actually going to do something different. Something I've been wanting to do for a while, but never got the chance because, you guys keep wanting. Not that I'm saying it's bad, but it's bad. No. No, no, no. No, just simply because we've had so many sponsors recently that I've never really had the chance to talk about this, and that's actually I've always wanted to do an art critique of my own art, and so here we are today. Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly, exactly. Like, I'm not blaming you guys for wanting to sponsor stuff. That's great. The the problem is I'm only dedicating about a day, an hour a day to this, and so I don't really have that much. Ooh, excuse me. Oh my god. Nice. Yeah, because I'm only dedicating about an hour a day to this, I don't actually have that much time to do everything I want to do. So today we're going to do some art critique. And yes, the savvier of you have already realized that that is why yesterday I went and said that we are going to do essentially what I want to do on the days. On half the days, and then I'll be taking sponsorships on the other half of the days. And I think that makes sense. I mean, honestly, to me that makes sense. Like, we don't all want to do exactly what I want to do, but we also don't all want to do let me rephrase that. We also don't all want to do um what you guys want to do. All right. No, 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 no. I'm not saying that the sponsorship is bad. No, by no means am I saying that. I think it's great. I love it. And and partially I think that's just because of our dynamic, right? Like, everyone, even the ones that are good afternoon, I guess. Yeah. Even the ones that are joining us live on YouTube. Um, I'm not sure I know you guys, but hi. We're all good. We're all good. So yeah, today we're going to talk about my personal art, what it is, what it reflects, and what I think I can improve on. Right? It's essentially an art critique about. Ooh la la. Excuse me. It's essentially an art critique, and it's done solely because I sometimes don't have enough time to go back and actually look at my own work. So I like the idea of doing so now, to just revisit and see how things appear, right? So first of all, we're going to start with this piece, which, as you can see from the date, is from yesterday. Incidentally, isn't it great to have our own background music? I'm just gonna put that out there again. I love it. No, I'm not. No, no. I did upload this to SoundCloud under share alike. So if you guys want to use it, I mean, I wouldn't expect you guys wanting to use it. Can you can you imagine you go into a you go into a deal, and on the other side is like, is like Goldman just Goldman is a couple bros from Goldman are sitting on the other side, and you just start your presentation, and and this little jingle starts up. That would be amazing. Oh my god, can you imagine that? No, please don't. Please make it happen. Okay, I'll make you a deal. If you do this, and if you take a full video of you doing this, given what's possible, don't break the law. But if you do that, I'll license it to you for free, and then you can market it, whatever, do whatever you want. Deal? All right, we'll have a drink. We'll have a drink to this afterwards. Anyway, too much talking for no reason. Okay, let's talk about art. First question is this art? I guess that leads us first to a different question, which is, what is art? Right? Actually, let me just grab my notes on this. So you guys know I take extensive notes. So like this is yesterday before I slept, I wrote some of this down. Essentially, the question is, first, what is art? To me, right? Like, of course, we're talking in general, but also like I cannot and will not speak for other people. So to me, art is something that expresses the artist's mindset, right? Obviously, because I'm the one doing the creation, so I'm the one, like, this is how I view the world, right? So I think it makes sense. Does it make sense? Questions? No? Good. So something on top of that, right? It's something that expresses the artist's mindset on the world. But more than that, it has to be more than. And to me, that means that for something to be considered art, it must make whomever that partakes in such art. So, if it's a painting, it's someone that's seen the painting. If it's a piece of writing, it's someone that's reading the writing. If it's music, it's someone that's listening to music. If it's movies, watchers, all of that stuff. To me, what makes something particularly art, and this is very specific to me, and I appreciate that everyone is going to have a different definition, especially when I say it, is that art, for me to consider something art, it must make the partaker happy, and not just feel an emotion, but actually happy. And there are very good reasons why I would consider it like this, and one of them is simply that one of the more popular definitions of art is, does it draw out an emotion? Does it make the... So, volume's okay. Okay. So, back to it. Like, one of the more popular definitions of art is, does it draw out an emotion in the viewer, in the partaker? And I don't think that's enough. That's too broad of a definition, because to me, it's very easy to make someone feel something. It's incredibly easy. Like, you can just, like, if you wanted to go old school, you just stab them. That's a feeling. That's pain, right? Like, there's so much art out there that is about defining misery, defining pain, and to me a lot of that is the expression of the artist. That's 100% true, of the mindset of the artist, but it's a lot of and keep in mind that this is my personal definition, and I don't mind if other people consider what they do art, right? But for me to consider something that I make art, it needs to make the viewer, the listener, the partaker happy, right? Like, if because it's very easy for me to write like something disturbing. That's just I don't even know how else to say it. It's just, it's easy, right? Like, to be disturbing, to evoke pain, to evoke all of these negative feelings is incredibly easy, because the human mind is uniquely capable of evoking negative emotions, for a variety of reasons, mostly evolutionary, some obsessive, right? Excuse me. And so for me to consider my own work to be artistic and to have artistic value, I require it to make the viewer happy. If the viewer is looks at it and goes, then I'll have failed. If the viewer looks at it and goes, oh my god, I'm so sad, well, I would have failed as well. Or rather, let me rephrase that. Then I wasn't targeting this particular piece towards these viewers, right? Like, I think, especially in if we look at exactly this piece, right, in Horizon, it follows. Let me just pull up another one. So this is Horizon 2, and this is Horizon 1, and you can very clearly see the progress that went from 2 to 1, in that in Horizon 1 it was a very still image, whereas in Horizon 2 suddenly things took a turn for, I would call it the optimistic, right? Because I'm considering this as the sunrise. Of course, exactly. Someone else could have seen this and said that's the sunset, and if they thought, oh my god, that's a beautiful sunset, I'm okay with that, right? It would remain artistic in my mind, because even though their interpretation of it is different, that doesn't make it any less valid in terms of the art. And I'm not talking about money laundering, come on. Can we all, if you're gonna be here and you're gonna listen to me pontificate about art, could we put the work to aside for a moment? Well, it's simply that, like, if I want to talk about art, I want to talk about art, and I don't want to talk about work. And you're absolutely right. Creative interpretation is one of the best ways of doing money laundering, but that's not the point of. That's not the point of this conversation. Now, having said that, right? This is what I would, this is happiness in one way. It's peaceful, it's calm, and it's, at least in my mind, at least it's peaceful, it's calm, and it shows, a far off scenery, and it evokes a little bit of wistfulness. Doesn't mean it can't make someone happy. Same thing here, it's peaceful, it's calm, and there's a certain amount of optimism to it, or just sheer, natural beauty to it, that I would hope evokes happiness in some of my viewers. Now let's look at something else, which is, I think, more interesting, at least in terms of what it represents, and that's this kind of work. This is yeah, exactly. This is a more wistful piece. Like, what it's serendipitous that you said that. For reference for viewers in the YouTube channel, when I first put up this image, someone on the, what am I saying? Someone in the Discord channel said that it looks wistful, and that's actually exactly it. That's what I was trying to represent with this, and that's the point that I'm trying to make. And it's that sometimes happiness isn't always linked to absolutely positive events, emotions, or anything like that. Like, nostalgia can be happiness, right? Nostalgia can be happiness. Wistful can be happiness. And so when I say happy, I don't just mean ha 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 ha, oh my god, that was so funny. Yes, you're right. I also don't mean, when you guys laugh at me over and over again. That's definitely not just it. No, but happiness can evolve from wistfulness. And I would personally argue that this is actually part of that. That what this image, at least when I made it myself, what I was trying to represent is, a road, society, and then all of that is grayed out, but there is a beautiful flower in bloom, which itself is, brings color and joy to society. And yes, in some ways that is quite wistful. I think so. I very much think so, right? Excuse me. There we go. I very much think so. And so, but just because it is doesn't mean it's unhappy, right? And so I would argue that this, to me, the feeling I was trying to get across is wistfulness, happiness, a gentle, calm happiness, if that makes sense, right? Like I think that's not too hard to understand. Even you guys could understand it. Well, I mean, I don't know, man. You guys are bankers. Who knows who knows if you're even human? Okay, let's move on to something else. And this is another dual piece. So let me pull it up first. This is the first one. And these are actually all from the past week. And I appreciate that. We should probably also move on to some earlier stuff, but we will get there. We have time, I think. Yeah, it's only been 16 minutes. We have time. So, bloom, right? Suddenly we're getting into the even more abstract. Like if we remember, this was already pretty abstract. This is also pretty abstract. The city perspective itself, where we're abstracting away essentially society into the background. But now we're getting into a different kind of abstract, right? Like where we're getting into, we're getting so heavily into the minimalism that it's starting to look completely different. Now, excuse me, why are people talking outside? Give me one quick second. No worries, it was just security. No, security wasn't coming to tell me to stop talking. No, they weren't trying to arrest me either. It's building security. They're not even the police. Okay. Anyway, let's continue, shall we? We're getting into the minimalistic and the even more abstract. And why would I consider this art? Well, these two pieces, what they're trying to convey are a whole bunch of very complex, at least to me, complex ideas. And oops, no, you stay down there. And this particular one, we start with a circle that's being formed of a whole bunch of squares. Each one of these is a square that's been rotated, I think, so that's 90, 45. So each one of these has been rotated 22.5 degrees. And so as you can very clearly see that the more squares I rotate, the closer to a circle I come, right? So the idea there is a very firm, we can create something smooth and round and almost perfect via the continued application of a very fundamental shape. And if we take a step back and look at it, I think it looks like a flower, and that's why it's bloom. That's why this one is bloom as well. And the point then is, I think it's a flower. It looks to me almost like a flower that's sitting on a lily, sitting on a lily pad in the middle of, whatever's in the background, which usually would be water, right? And so different, everyone might have different interpretations. I really like that, actually. Yeah, no, I like that. The interpretation that was put forth in the Discord was a star, the formation of a star within its sort of nucleus, right? Like essentially, it's an in motion image of the core of the star as it's igniting out of a ball of helium, a ball of hydrogen. And that's actually, I genuinely like that, because that works really, really well with the title Bloom as well, right? A star is itself blooming out of the core of its hydrogen, out of its protostar state. And that's very nice. I like that. The ignition of a star. You know what? You could sort of see that happening here as well in Bloom. Let's call it Bloom 1, where the star itself has already ignited, and it's essentially pushing out like the solar winds generated by the ignited star is pushing out the rest of the hydrogen in sort of interest. In this case, it's all symmetrical, but in real life, it obviously wouldn't be. It's pushing out its the rest of the hydrogen into its own solar system, and that it in itself will also encourage planetary formation and the settling of the system. And it's great. I genuinely like that. That's very cool. And you see, that to me is the beauty of art, right? And that to me is what defines art. In that, actually, before we continue, can I ask, did that make you happy? Or no, let's not say happy, but rather leave you refreshed? I should put the chat on sometime, but I can't because of our contract. To summarize, as I asked if that art made him happy, everyone else piled in to just say no. No means no, and all of that that good stuff. And so I think he was pressured to say that it didn't make him happy. It made him feel pretentious. But that's, I mean, the fact that you're all still here, when half of you are supposed to be working, that tells me enough. Anyway, okay, let's let's continue. And so what I wanted to say there was, that is exactly what I was trying to go for. Not a strong, immediate reaction. And it's not supposed to be shocking. Art to me is not about the shock factor, because I can shock you guys in any way I want. Does that mean it's art? Like, literally, I could put right here, like, there's something about GME, and then you guys go crazy. I mean, I go crazy, but yes, sometimes I laugh so much I start coughing. The point remains. To me, that's what art is, right? Like, we have completely different interpretations of what this looks like and what it's supposed to represent, and they're equally valid and they're equally interesting, and that's what makes it amazing. Okay, let's move on. Let's move this one below this one. There we go. I don't really have much to say about Blossom 1. It was an interesting play with geometry, and it led to Blossom 2, which I personally, I think I like Blossom 2 better, but I like the darker background of Blossom 1, and I kind of wish I used it for 2, but we're all good. But that's sort of the point, right? That's why I wanted to do this, because when I'm revisiting my art, I can more clearly see what was on my mind as I was doing it, and how I can improve it in the future. And that's what I wanted to do. And you guys kept wanting to do stuff like Genshin Impact. You wanted me to talk about Wall Street bets. See, if you would only let me do what I wanted to do, maybe we would all be having so much more. Please don't. I don't want to talk about Wall Street bets anymore. Anyway, let's move on. We're moving on to Akemi Homura, a oh wow, this is much bigger than I imagined. And this is not no longer the minimalistic art. This I would consider, calligraphy art. And I want to talk about this in particular. I want to talk about actually just Chinese calligraphy in particular, because it is a rather interesting field that I think could do with a shake. Essentially what it is modern Chinese calligraphy is very deeply entrenched in the past. Give me one quick second, my phone just rang. I'll be right back. It turns out my phone was on my desk all along. Oops. Okay, anyway, we're good. Yes, I'm blind. I mean, you guys knew I was blind, right? Like, I'm like the last person to be able to find anything. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Chinese calligraphy for particularly interesting reason, because to me it's sort of being, how do I say? Oh, I dragged in the wrong file, my bad. It's very much still entrenched in the past, in that all we are doing is, worshiping old dead guys who can write really well. And that is great in a lot of ways, but it's also like sad to me personally, because there is so much potential in calligraphy as an art form, right? Like it's pretentious enough. First of all, it's pretentious enough to be interesting, no matter who the viewer is. But it's also like it has potential to look very flowing. The reason why I brought these two images, or these two names. Interesting. You really are a weeb. So Akemi Homura is this was a commission actually. This one is one of the main characters of a interesting or subversive magical girl TV show called, what was it called? Madoka Magica, I think, yes. And Mizuno Ami is obviously Sailor Mercury. There we go. It has, the animes themselves don't have anything to do with what I want to talk about. Can we just go back to what I want to talk about, please? I just want to talk about my art. And also, incidentally, we're almost out of time, so let me get this out of the way, and then we can finish for the day. No, just let me get it out of the way, please. Okay. What I wanted to talk about was, if we look at this particular character, in Chinese it would be Mei, and the literal translation is of course beautiful. And in Japanese, it gets used in a whole bunch of different ways, which are very, very interesting, but that we can think about in the future. But essentially, what I wanted to talk about was, see the complete difference between these two, right? And this is basically 2 weeks apart. 16 days, doesn't matter. That's essentially 2 weeks. I'm an engineer, it's 2 weeks for me. Guys, fellas, it doesn't matter if it's 16 days or 2 weeks. Let me just talk about it. The point that I'm laboriously trying to make is that 2 weeks apart, it looks completely different, and for artistic reason, right? Like, I don't know if it's immediately obvious, but I think to me this one is more flirty. And I know that doesn't really fit with Sailor Mercury, but you know, it's not the point. It's not the point. It's not the point. The point is that when I'm talking about Chinese calligraphy or just calligraphic art in general, especially East Asian Chinese characters, not even Chinese characters, even you can see with the katakana, hiragana that I'm using, that it can express a lot of emotion with the flow of the lines, with the amount of ink that you use, with where the ink starts, where the ink stops, how each line is moved with the other. And my complaint, well, it's not really a complaint, my observation of definitely Chinese society is that we are Chinese society is so focused on the past and the people who have written well in the past that we cannot take a step back and appreciate that there are perhaps more, that writing itself should be an expression of the person that's doing the writing, whether it's beautiful, whether it's flowing, whether it evokes emotion, whether it is art, in other words, should very much not depend on whether it looks like something that happened in the past. And that's not something that Chinese society is very good at understanding yet. And all due credit to Chinese society, we're getting there, especially with my generation and sort of the next generation. We're chasing more spiritual understanding of what. I was almost done and just like for reference, I got called really pretentious. I got called pretentious in many different ways. But the point remains that as we're slowly, as society has improved to the point where the next meal isn't the only thing that's on one's mind, we can slowly start to understand and appreciate that calligraphy itself should be a reflection not just on the history, not just on practicing what came before, but just like with science, we are applying what came before in novel ways to create something new. And that's a very scientific way for me to think about this, and that's why I keep writing in my, like, you will not see my font anywhere on the internet. It's so weird, like the way let me just show you another one. It's so weird the way I write that it's like you might see little bits, hints and pieces of inspirations in a lot of things, but you will never see exactly the way I write on the internet, because it's not, shall we say, my practicing is very much focused on calligraphy being an art style and not a font. You know, font can be considered art, but in Chinese calligraphy, especially with Chinese characters like this, sometimes that is, it's too mired in history, right? Like if someone came up to me and said, I've practiced the experiments done by some dead guys for over 20 years, and therefore I should be considered, one of the greats in society, I would just like slap him upside the head and tell him to go away, because that's not, you're not contributing new ideas, right? Like, new ideas don't have to be great. New ideas don't even have to work properly. In fact, like, actually, let me show you one that I don't think worked properly. Hanabi. Yeah. This one I don't think worked at all, even though I tried really hard at it. There must be a better way of me to do this. Anyway, so Hanabi, like, especially the fire part of this, which is this part in Mandarin to be 火花. This didn't work for me at all. But you also don't really ever see it written in this particular backward stroke like that. And that's part of experimentation. That's part of the scientific process, and that's part of what makes creating new things so wonderful. You fail, and that's perfectly all right, and so you just try again. And I would argue that, between late February and now, I have, in my mind at least, improved not so much in what I output, as in, show the world, but in how I practice, what mindset I'm in as I'm practicing. And that's really, I think that's important. Anyway, I think we're way over time. Thank you, fellas, for watching. Oh yes, of course, and boys and girls, right? Because it used to be just us boys, but now that we have company from the fairer sex. So great, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We are tomorrow. Actually, what are we doing tomorrow? Do you guys? Oh no, tomorrow's Friday, so it's our sponsored Friday cast. Okay, we're good. So I shall see you guys tomorrow. We might be actually tomorrow. We'll be playing a new game, one that I really want one that's really suitable to conversation. So let's look forward to that. And I think that's it. Yeah. In summary, again, don't do Chrome. Get Firefox. Have fun with Firefox. Firefox is extensible, just like Chrome is. Chrome, in fact, copied a lot of that from Firefox. And that's it. All right, bye guys.